Hi, and welcome to this week's Something for the Weekend. I'm Tony, Sales Manager here at Martin Lynch & Sons, and this week I'm joined by David, our Purchasing Manager. How are you, David?
Not too bad, thank you very much. Looking forward to today's episode.
Are you?
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening, do you? That's
no, a bit on the spot last minute, eh?
There you go. So, what we're going to do this week is we're going to go through some misconceptions of amateur radio. So we take a lot of calls during the week from new amateurs and old amateurs.
Yeah.
And we get asked a lot of questions, and we're also told a lot of stuff.
We are.
So a lot of customers will say to us, Tony or Dave, I need XY. Why do you need XY, sir? Oh, because of...
Somebody said.
Somebody said. The famous my friend said.
Yes.
My friend said. So we're going to go through some of those questions that we get asked during the week. And I'm going to basically quiz you on them a little bit, Dave.
Yeah,
and we're
let's
going
go.
to see if we can find out an alternative to that question.
Yep.
So the first question we're going to go with is, oh, you're not going to work DX unless you've got a really big antenna.
Ah, that old chestnut.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it covers quite a few bands, and that's going to hopefully make it easier for us to answer, because, you know, what is DX? Is it going to be VHF, UHF or HF? That's kind of the way I look at it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah?
Pretty much.
So do we need a big antenna?
No.
Got an example?
Yes. Think you got one there?
This one here? Okay, so this. So for this antenna, we're kind of looking at HF.
Yep.
Yeah. So this loop will cover, I think it's 40 meters, so 7 megahertz,
Yeah.
up to 10 meters,
Yeah.
28 megahertz, and you've got kind of full coverage.
On a balcony, small garden.
So multi-band. Let me get that out of the way there for a moment.
Yeah, because sometimes, obviously, we haven't all got big gardens. Some of us have got my garden's quite tiny.
Join the club.
Yeah. So sometimes we've got to really think outside of the box when it comes down to antennas. I'd love a Yagi in my garden, but that's not going to happen. But I can still work DX.
Okay, so it is a misconception, I should say,
100%.
in that you don't really need a big antenna. Obviously, that's ideal.
Yeah,
If you can
and it
get-
helps.
yeah.
And you might hear things you wouldn't ordinarily hear, but you can still have fun with the radio.
And even, you know, it's going to kind of throw this one out there in the fact that working DX, it's down to the way I look at it is it's down to the person who's operating. So you may have been told many stories by, you know, amateurs that have been in the game a long time. DX is this rare country that's out there. No, to me, if I've got a handheld, and just say, for example, I use that ISS repeater,
Yeah.
to me that it feels like DX.
It does. Yeah,
You know,
100%.
you're working something in space, it's nice.
Yeah.
Even satellites, and it's not a big antenna.
No,
So
not at all.
that misconception, I think we can take and throw it out the window.
Absolutely. I mean, simple antennas. You have got an example there. Little bit of wire and a dipole centre. Make yourself a 20-metre dipole and away you go. All you need is hook this up into a tree, 2 legs. It's the cheapest, most simplest antenna that you can build, whether it be for 10 metres, 20 or even 40 if you do have a little bit of space.
And using this wire as well, probably you could probably get away with using that as well. But you could go for a vertical as well. So you could make maybe a quarter wave ground plane or something like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
For it.
Yeah, it'll work.
Okay, perfect.
It'll work.
Right, shall we go on to another misconception?
Yes, let's go for it.
Often here.
Yeah.
And I will look at my notes for this because there's quite a few.
Look away.
I think I've noted down about 10 or so here. So HF is dead.
Yes, I hear that a lot, even on the bands, let alone on the
is
phone.
dead.
Yeah,
It's finished. It's done with.
this is over and
Now-
this old news.
Tell me, are we not at a certain point in the solar cycle where things seem to be picking up?
Yep,
Admittedly, they're taking a little bit of time.
it is. Solar cycle 25 is upon us. Some people say it was last year. Some people say it's going to be this year. So we're at the height of the sun cycle, and we should hear some pretty special things on the bands every now and then.
And I think it's also down to where you're operating and how you're operating. So, i.e. mode.
Yeah.
So if I go to a CW section of the HF band, HF isn't dead.
No.
It's not dead. It may just be that you're not trying CW.
Give it a go.
Now, who's to blame for that?
Yes.
It's not the bands, is it?
It's not.
That's down to you. So get on the key. Get on the key. Start learning. And HF certainly won't be dead. FT8.
FT8.
Controversial.
It is controversial. It's not real ham radio, some people say. But we're going to be using that more outside of the sun cycle, I think, because it's low propagation. It's not low power, as some people say. It's another myth, actually. It's not low power. It's low propagation. So whether you can get a small antenna up and, you know, you don't want to annoy the neighbours, FT8 might be the right one.
It helps with that misconception that we had on the previous question.
It does.
i.e. you can have a smaller antenna and work FT8 and it still works pretty well.
100%.
For HF, so yeah.
Yeah.
So HF, is it dead? No, I wouldn't have thought so. As I said, it's going to be down to the mode and also the band.
Yeah, and the conditions and, you know, what the where the solar cycle is, and it could be all sorts of things. Weather from the sun, winds.
Look at 10 and 15 meters, for example.
Yes.
How good have they been over the last
been very good, especially the weekend. I was doing a little bit of FT8 the weekend, and 10 meters and 15 meters were pretty good.
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
You just need to better. You'll find, especially if you're new to the hobby, that you may find that you're just, I don't know about you, Dave, but when you first got into the hobby, 40 meters and 20
It was, yeah.
That's it. That's like there's only two bands that exist. 40 and 20. That's your bands. It's like,
it was.
what band you I was on 20 meters last night. Oh, I'm on 40 meters at night time. No, there's other bands out there. 17 is a cracking band.
Especially if there's a contest on. There was a contest on this weekend. So if you want, you know, something a little bit quiet where you can actually find a frequency where you can operate, 70 meters is ideal. When sometimes it comes to life of an evening, you know, you get some US propagation as well.
And we've done previous videos where we've spoken about beacons on certain bands. So 10 meters obviously got some cracking beacons.
Yeah, and the repeater in the US.
That coming up, and the beacon network as well. So obviously, near enough every one of the HF bands has that World Beacon Network.
Yeah.
Have a look. Take a look. It's certainly not dead, that's for sure.
100%.
Definitely alive and kicking. Right, next question.
Go on.
I do need to go back to my list. I love that. Always prepared, Tony. You need 100 watts plus to make contacts.
Interesting one. And controversial for a lot of people.
Well, to be fair, I don't know why I'm asking Dave the question, because let's just say Dave likes a little bit of power.
A little bit of power. Tiny little bit.
I'm the other way around.
Yeah, I know.
So,
bit of QRP.
Yeah, maybe we'll switch the question. Maybe you can ask me that question. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, no, basically is the answer to that. You don't need 100 watts plus to make a contact.
You don't. I mean, it helps. Don't get me wrong. It does help in certain situations. If you've got somebody like Ferry, who's got a massive pile up, he's going to struggle to hear you. There's a lot of big stations calling, or when Australia pop up, you know. However,
I still think it's down to skill.
It is. I mean, we do
skill.
something in the club, actually. We do TED Talks in the club, and one of them is when to call.
You know, call. Yeah, exactly.
Count to 3, then call. Yeah. Obviously, it's controversial about using QRP on the end of your call sign.
A lot of stations don't like that. But then what I find is if the other guy or girl on the end of the pile-up is a decent enough operator, they don't mind the QRP call. Or to be honest, they're going to put the call out for QRP.
Well, they're going to like working QRP because it's testing their system as well. It's testing their antenna and their skills to be able to hear somebody who's going to be quite weaker. But with QRP, grabbing your stuff, walking up a hill, don't have many mountains here, but a hill, and it's going to be nice and quiet, and you're 5 watts, 10 watts.
And again, you've done the FT8 thing. So just because your radio does 100 watts, you don't go doing 100 watts on FT8s. For obvious reasons.
I was going to grab a radio.
Well, you can grab a radio. Feel free. Let's show us something. What have you got?
The trusty.
My dream. My dream radio.
The 817. Lovely QRP radio. Really is good. It's so tiny.
Did you ever buy one of these, Dave?
No. It's probably the only thing I have.
Maybe we should have a chat about you buying one of these. I'd say every week.
It's got the DSP as well, which is kind of cool. But something like this in a rucksack, up a hill somewhere, with a flask of coffee, you can't really go wrong, to be honest.
And it works both ways. It's not just working that station on less than 100 watts, it's hearing it as well.
Exactly, which goes with the antenna that you're going to pack up and take with you.
Yeah, which is going to help. Good, nice choice. Right, next question.
Yes.
Back over to the list.
What we got?
Well, you've kind of mentioned this one already.
Oh dear.
All right, because it does creep up. And this is one of those questions that we get a lot. I suppose not so much on the phone, mainly in the store when we've got a few different amateurs here from different eras, let's just say.
Yep.
digital radios and ham radios.
Wow. Thing is, digital radio's been running for decades.
It has.
And some people didn't even realise that it was Ritty.
Yep.
Ritty was a popular one. Slow scan TV's been around for a while.
There's been some amazing modes when it comes to digital.
I mean, there's so many.
Can I make it just one point?
Go on.
Which probably just the misconception goes out the window. Radio.
Yep.
Whatever's connected to it, be it your voice,
Yeah.
key, computer,
Yep.
whatever, as long as whatever's this end of it comes out of this end with a little antenna and a bit of RF.
It's all over RF.
Even if it's from here to there,
Yeah.
that to me that's radio.
Still radio.
That's done, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
So that's blown that misconception out.
It's done.
I'm not even going to hang around because that's one of those things we could discuss for hours
in
on
the
end.
comments.
Yeah,
in the
put it-
comments.
Definitely pop it into the comments with 100%. Right, let's go on to the next one because that's just, it's one of those. As long as there's RF, it's radio.
It is, and
far
as
I'm
long as
concerned.
the thing is with our hobby, there's so many different facets to it. A little bit like photography, actually. So many different facets. If you're using FT8, doing FT4, whatever it is you're doing within the hobby, it doesn't matter as long as you enjoy it because it's a hobby.
Yeah, it's true. It is a hobby. It is. It doesn't matter what Bob down the road says. It's
No.
As long as you enjoy
If
it.
you enjoy it, happy days.
Exactly. Right, next misconception.
Cool.
You need a license to enjoy HF.
Well, in theory, no, you don't, because you can shortwave listen.
Exactly.
And there's lots of radios, or let me grab
Yeah.
SDRs, little bit of a wire out the window, and you can start listening to HF.
Exactly. Now, if you've only got a small amount of money, basically,
Yep.
and you know you're going to go for your license, you can also go online.
Yes, web SDRs.
Web SDR.
Kiwi,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. And as long as you've got an internet connection, well, you could go to the library.
Yeah.
So it is free in that respect.
And the other good
enjoy
thing,
HF.
if you're listening before you've taken your exam, or you just shortwave listen because you want to listen, that can help prepare you not only for your exam, but also once you get past.
I did it exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it was kind of pushed through. I mean, you do a lot of training with GAMC and the club. But it was really luckily I was shortwave listening before anyway, but it was really driven into me to listen.
Have a listen.
Because when it comes to that mic shy thing,
Yeah. See how people are
you're used
operating,
to it,
see what they're
exactly,
saying.
and you learn your cue codes and
Yeah, and especially if you want to call CQ and you want to run a pile up, you know, we weren't. When we passed our exams, that's not downloaded to us. That doesn't happen. No. We have to give it a go, and by listening to other people and how they run pile ups, that was one of the things I really wanted to do. Yeah, ticking the box.
It's true. But like I said, everyone's got their own little avenue for it. And listening's a great way to find that avenue.
It is. It is. It really is. And definitely, if you're going to go for your license, then I think this leads on to one of the other questions that Tony's got on there. But yeah, get something that you can listen to, and if not, just go online, Kiwi SDR, or Hack Green SDR. There's loads of websites out there, and have a little flick around, a little listen.
Definitely. And it's very generally said on HF that you need a license. It's the same for VHF and UHF. Obviously, you can still listen. You can do scanners.
You can listen to everything,
or whatever else. And if you're really pushing, you really do want to talk. There's other hobbies within the radio community that you can access without a license.
It is,
whether it be PMR,
PMR
446 or CB radio, etc. So it can be done. It can be done. Right. On to the next one. I think we kind of covered that. You pop that there. I'll grab a question. Okay. One of these ones. It's one of these ones. There's one of these ones.
Go on.
Now this is mainly this is a weird one because we normally get asked or we speak about this again, not so much on the phone, but when the community's in the store, which is what the store's about.
It is.
Everyone down having a chat. Ham radio is too expensive. So it's too expensive to get into. Yeah.
Can be.
It can be. It certainly can be. It certainly can be. However, go back to the origins of ham radio.
Yep.
Homebrew.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's
Homebrew.
kits. There's kits that you can get. What was your first radio?
My first radio was a receiver. My first one.
Oh, okay.
So my first one would have been an FRG7,
Nice.
which had been homebrewed so that it could be used portable. So I had an old Motorola, you know, the brick phone.
Yeah,
one of those
yeah.
batteries.
One of the batteries out there.
Modified, so I could. I don't know. I must have been looked a fool, but yeah, taking it out and setting it up. But yeah, amazing.
It is, and mine's still here.
Ah, your actual one.
Not my actual
I was going
one.
to say,
No.
we're going to have a
Yeah.
sales training, I think.
There we
if that's
go.
the case.
Look at that, a 450D. And I always remember Martin was a 450 for 450. I'll always remember that. And this has everything that you need on a budget.
Yeah, don't give them that price. It's gone up a bit now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we now kind of near enough give 450 for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But these have everything. All the bands,
Perfect.
HF6.
HF6.
HF6, built-in tuner, fantastic little radio. So it doesn't have to be expensive.
No, it doesn't have to be expensive. And obviously, we're surrounded by used equipment. So used equipment is a great way to get into the hobby.
Yep.
Or pre-loved, as I like to call it.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, pre-loved equipment, amazing. You will save a lot of money. Another thing as well, if you've joined a club for your training, then you're gonna, hopefully meet someone there that might say, "Oh, do you borrow this?" Or
We've all got
as a
collections.
gateway. Yeah, exactly. As a gateway into the hobby, there's a good community out there.
Yeah, and for me, although this was my first HF radio, one of the things that I did was grabbed myself a handheld, and that was actually grabbed off of a friend that introduced me to pass on my test card. I have one of these. It was an FT65, I think. Nice little Yossi. This is an FT4X. These handhelds, anything from £65 to £100, I think.
Yeah.
Different types. I think this one's 70.
Oh, they're even less than that.
I think they're less than that. Yeah.
Yeah, very accessible.
But yeah, 2 and 70, you can have great fun on 2 meters, 70 centimeters. Lots of repeaters all over the place, if you're lucky enough to be near them. And that'll get you on the air. So yes, it doesn't have to be expensive.
It doesn't have to be expensive,
Nope.
does it? It doesn't. It doesn't.
Really doesn't. There we go, put these back.
Okay.
But it can be expensive.
It can be. Yeah, it can be very expensive. Okay, next one. This misconception. Ham radio is dying.
Oh, that's a bit harsh, isn't
It
it?
is a bit harsh. It is a bit harsh. Now, that's a misconception mainly, I think, from people that aren't within the amateur radio community.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly during COVID, the numbers were like amazing. The people that were taking their tests.
8,000 plus.
Oh, it was crazy. As a club, speaking from Golf 8 AMC, I mean, we had Windy the other week, WND. He passed his full call. We've still got people very eager that want our 11-meter operators who are part of the club, that want to get their license, and in the process of helping them and training them. I think that did help, and that's kind of been a shift as well within amateur radio, is that it's become a lot more accepting when it comes to background of people within radio. I think
because there used to be there used to be a lot of gatekeepers, I feel. And I know that's controversial to say.
That's true.
But the gatekeepers are moving aside and the gates are starting to open a little bit more, and we're being, it's a lot more accessible.
And the story that I got told was, obviously when we're younger, we get into hobbies like this, and then we leave school, get jobs, meet girls.
Yeah.
And then the average used to be about 50, 55, and now it's probably around the 35, 40 mark, according to the data from the RSGB. So I don't think it is dying.
Yeah, and the backgrounds have changed. So I think a lot more in the past, you'd have a lot more of electronical engineering backgrounds, whereas now obviously we're seeing a lot more customers coming from the IT side of things.
Yeah, and people that are plasterers, painters, decorators who just want to operate. They don't want to fiddle inside. They give that to us to fix things and whatnot.
And with regards to youth coming into the hobby, it's happening.
It is.
RSGB are now starting to pull in a lot more youth when it comes to listing up YouTube videos, and obviously videos such as our own and other YouTubers out there.
That's it.
People are seeing them, just stumbling across it, which is great. And the maker scene.
Yeah.
Got a Raspberry Pi, and it kind of goes off at a tangent. And the next thing you know, you're doing your amateur radio foundation license.
I know, it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. Lots of different ways
So
into the hobby.
certainly not dying, that's for sure. And we're seeing an increase in numbers coming to the shop, which is great.
Yeah, and the
newcomers.
phones, and when we were at the RSGB conference, that was super busy, right? That was so busy.
Which is great, because in the past, that conference was mainly for an old guard. Again, the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, I've had
a lot of young uns there.
There was a lot of young people there, which is Depends what your class is. Young, really.
Well,
Obviously,
it's
'cause
30, 35.
30 plus, really, in that respect. But in the world of amateur radio, kind of young, I suppose.
It is.
And the future.
Yeah.
And the good thing is they're grasping it. It may not be your traditional way of amateur radio thinking, but they're grasping the hobby and then sending it off in different directions all the time.
Which is the different tangents that we've got of the hobby, which is one of the things I love about
it. IT, even the coding, so running radios as automated systems, and
well, it is
amazing.
login bits of login software. Or could be anything, couldn't it?
Everything.
Could be anything.
Right, moving on.
Cool.
So, kind of rolls off from the last one. This one,
Strange that.
it is strange, and again, it's another one of those questions that. It's not really an amateur radio misconception in the fact for amateur radio operators, because we know the truth.
Yeah.
We already know the truth on this one. We already know that. We're in the matrix. The internet's basically replaced ham radio, so there's no need for it.
Zello.
There's no need for it. Well, yeah, Zello, or just communicating with people worldwide. Why do we need amateur radio? The internet does everything we want.
And you know what? I used to think like that, especially when it comes down to voice digital modes and things. But when you actually look at it, that's probably allowed people to continue in the hobby because they weren't allowed to put an antenna up. Yeah. But they could have a little zoom spot or something.
So that's where the internet's in conjunction with amateur radio.
Yep.
However, what happens when the internet fails?
Yeah.
Have we still got a hobby?
No. Well, not from that side of things, but
we still got a hobby.
We've still got a hobby.
Exactly. So it hasn't really killed amateur radio because, if anything, amateur radio is still standing strong when the internet goes down.
Yeah.
Emergency comms, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the sailing fraternity.
Yep.
WinLink.
There's
everything
so
like
much
that can be operated without the infrastructure of the internet.
Yep.
So no, the internet hasn't killed.
Is it Vara?
I don't know. That's never heard of that one, but probably. So the internet, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't killed amateur radio. If anything, it's just shown how strong amateur radio.
Yeah, and it's helped it as well because obviously some of our modes need the internet, and so
they're working together.
I think so.
They're working together.
I think so.
Right, moving on.
Okay, next one.
Moving on. Now, I laugh because I've had this week.
Right, okay.
That's why I'm laughing, Dave. It's one of those ones. You're going to like this one. So, SWR meters are always accurate.
Oh yeah, always not. No.
No,
They're not.
Never.
No.
Well, I say never, but
you can calibrate them.
You can calibrate them.
Get yourself a dummy load.
Yeah, but normal retail kind of style, Joe Public, SWR meters are not that accurate.
No,
they're not, and it will even say that in the literature. 10% leeway, or even 20%. I've read on some of the
the digital ones are better.
Yeah,
and obviously with a needle one. They're most accurate in the middle.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the different ranges and stuff. But
have you got one there? Did you? Oh, there we go. There's a digi one. But they're never going to be perfect.
No.
And that's just it. The way I do it is the same as I always discuss with certain LCD screens and stuff. It's an indication. Now, you should always be testing stuff into a dummy load anyway before you do anything.
Yep.
That's the way to do it. And even with the radios, just because it says 100 watts. So I'll give you an example. I've got a radio today. I won't mention the manufacturer. It's a few years old. I've bought it in.
Yeah.
It's a 100 watt radio on HF. What power do you think it is, Dave?
70.
No, 114.
Oh, really?
So it's 114 watts. It's the other way round.
Wow.
Now, if I ran it into that, with that 10% leeway, it's probably going to tell me it's a 100 watt radio.
It probably is. Yeah.
Now, this has come from a manufacturer that runs everything as it should be. So, as you said, Dave, best thing to do, if you're that concerned, or I mean, I don't understand the need for it to be exactly 100 watts. It has to be 100 watts.
Yeah.
It has to be 100 watts.
Especially on SSB, it's not going to be,
exactly.
is it?
It never is going to be.
No.
But run your tests, do it properly. Just because the manual might say it does 100 watts or 45 watts, that's going to give you an indication of what it is. Then you've got your losses. Then you've got everything else.
Exactly. It's just going to give you an indication.
Yeah,
that's all it's going to do.
Exactly. And as harsh as it is to say it out loud, if you spend more time concentrating on your station rather than the numbers on a box,
Yep. You'll probably enjoy it more.
you could probably run, you probably would enjoy it more, and you could also run 40 watts and probably work more stations than what you're doing with your 100 watts into the really poor performing coax and the bad antenna, everything else.
I get it, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these are indications, they're indicators, that's exactly what they are. And we'll roll with that. I think that's that misconception out of the way. They're not perfect.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so next question. Oh, I forgot, all heated there, you know.
Hey,
Very heated.
SWR always does it.
It does. Right. I'll tell you what, we were only going to do 10 of these, but I think I'm going to push Henry.
Yeah, let's go.
It annoys him when we do it. So
He's smiling,
he
by
is.
the way.
Is he? I hope so.
Inside.
So all coax is the same.
Ah,
And now that works with that kind of last bit that we said there.
Yeah.
So all coax is the same, Dave. I've got my 25 pence reel that I bought in 1973. It's been in the garage for 59 years. It's not a problem.
it's not all the same. You really do get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And especially I remember as an M6 and having a good lesson taught to me by somebody who said, David, you got 10 watts. You need to make sure you got that 10 watts at the feed point.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we can do that is to get you some good coax. I said, I've got good coax. I've got RG58.
Oh, nice.
It's really good
I know
stuff.
why I'm laughing because I'm exactly the same. And I think I had a 20 metre run of RG58 on a dual band X50
It's not.
and using it on 77s. And
Yeah.
wondered why everyone was talking to everyone, but I couldn't hear them.
Yeah, you got 1 watt coming out. That's fine.
How did that happen?
But no, and then he gave me some 213,
Okay, yeah.
and yeah, not all coax is the same.
Yeah.
But not only from a lossy point
Yeah,
of view, but also from I need to get it round this corner point of view.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need some hyperflex,
Yeah.
or you know, I just need something that I can put in the ground. I can bury it. Hyperflex bury.
true.
So yeah, it's not all the same. Have a think about what you need, and if you don't know, it doesn't matter. You can
ask.
call us.
It is, just ask, and there's plenty of comparison charts available online as well.
Yep,
So, yeah, always go with that.
busted that one.
Okay, so antenna tuners make a bad antenna good.
Well, it's kind of a myth. However, tuners can help keep your radio happy.
Well, that's basically what they're doing. Let's be honest, they're not
50 ohms.
They're not doing anything else. They're not physically going. When you turn those knobs or press that button, nothing physically changes with
The
that
other end.
antenna, does
It's not tuning the antenna.
It's not tuning,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's a bit of a
But
struggle.
what it does do, it gets the reflection
Yeah.
and squirts it back up the antenna again.
Yeah.
So it does help in that way if you've got a poorly tuned antenna.
But please, misconception is, I've put up this very strange antenna that I've created. Without the tuner, it's a 75 to 1 match. But when I put that tuner on, I can tell everyone I've got an
50
amazing
ohms.
antenna.
Yeah,
I've
1
made.
to 1.
It's 1 to 1 all over.
Yeah.
It is, it's a misconception. The antenna's still rubbish, let's be honest.
It is, but that said, doublet. Look at a doublet. Need a tuner for a doublet, and they work. They work really well if you've got enough room.
But it's not, well, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. It's one of those antennas. Let's not go down the routes of antennas. Again, in the comments.
Yes,
in the
definitely
comments.
put it in the comments.
Right, now, as much as you'd like to carry on for a bit longer, Dave, I'm
Yes.
afraid that is
Oh, that's
the
it.
last question. Yeah, well, we could have been, let's be honest.
There are a lot.
We're like this most days anyway in the office, so,
Yeah.
but we give them a little glimpse as to what happens. So, what we'd really like you to do, and hopefully some of these answers has helped clear up a few misconceptions,
Yep.
is if you have any, or if you've got anything that you've heard of and you want to add some comments down below just to help other amateurs, because that's what the hobby's about.
Yeah, it's about passing on information.
Please make sure you do. And obviously, if it's the first time that you've ever watched us here at ML&S.TV, don't forget, like, comment and subscribe as usual. And next week,
What are we doing next week?
I'm going to give away a prize.
Are you allowed to say what it is, or you
Oh,
give a secret?
no, it's a
Oh,
secret.
okay.
I'll tell you what,
See, still learning.
it's not that.
Ah.
Anyway, we'll see you very soon. Many thanks for watching. Thank you,
Oh,
Dave, as
one
well
more
for joining.
thing, one more thing.
Oh, no, we have got one more
Theo.
thing. You're right.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. So if you've ordered from Martin Lynch and Sons lately, you'll probably notice that on some of the emails,
Yep,
obviously we've got Paul in Dispatch, who's been with us for longer than I've been here.
and me.
So well done. And we've got Theo.
Yeah, Little Theo.
Theo took over from Jan when Jan left because
Yeah.
Jan moved. And Theo is our younger
He is. Younger version.
of Jan, basically.
Yeah, he is.
And Jan was quite young.
Yeah.
But congratulations, anyway, are in order because...
He passed his exam.
He has.
His foundation on Sunday, I think it was.
Yep, so Theo is now...
Well done, Theo.
So Theo is now a radio amateur along with the rest of us.
Yep.
Anyway, take care and we'll catch up with you very, very soon.
All the best.